horror, kaiju, Dragon Ball, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors, Steven here, and I'm back with another horror figure review. We just got done taking a look at the original Silent Screamers Nosferatu from Mezco and their 112 collective lineup, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Symphony of Horror edition. The original 112 Nosferatu was a major hit, and folks were clamoring to pick it up on the aftermarket, where prices hit more than $300 at some points. However, on 1/12/2022, 112 day, Mezco did an awesome drop of another Rumble Society, Nosferatu and the Rumble Society. I mean, whatever. Everyone just goes ahead and they just buy Rumble Society figures. It doesn't matter. They did another Nosferatu drop, and it was a disaster. I mean, it was terrible. Basically, no one was able to get their order in until like 2 hours later. Yeah, it was terrible. But folks were able to get their orders in, and even if they went to sleep and they gave up and they joined the wait list, they were still able to get it converted to an actual order. And now that we are here, we can review it. So without any further ado, let's take a look to see whether or not this repaint of Nosferatu is going to be worth adding into your collection. Yeah, this is going to be a blue Nosferatu, which honestly, at first when I saw the pictures and I saw the tease, I think it was nearly a year ago when they showed Nosferatu. I think he was battling that Doc Nocturnal, I think it is. I thought, ooh, that might be cool. And then I saw some of the promo pics, and I'm thinking, it's not that great. And then I got it in hand, and I really started appreciating it, except for one issue. One. I don't quite know how it happened, but let's go ahead and talk about what works really well. So for the blue and the purple mix, for the most part, fantastic. And I have to say, where the original Nosferatu had a nice pace run, this picks up and sprints, okay? The original release of Nosferatu had rather earthy colors, and that was also used for the accents, for the highlights. This one, they kind of went balls to the walls crazy here, okay? You got blue, you can add in purple, you can add in red. It doesn't matter, you're making up your own damn rules. So when you have those alternate interesting colors, you can put purple on the ears and you can pop out details that you really didn't get to see that well on the original release. Likewise, you have the red on the eyes that really makes it stand out on the shelf. So that's boom, eye popping. Yeah, pretty cool. Now, the coat that he has looks great as well, but black shows everything. And I will say that at the edges of it, tattered just like the original release, but this feels a bit more stiff, feels a little bit more starchy, I guess, and especially towards the bottom, it feels really well used, dried. It feels extra crispy, if you know what I mean. But that's not going to be the issue. The issue, you've probably seen it, the forearms that peek out from the coat and the hands aren't the same damn blue. The forearms are like a yellowish blue, okay? They got a yellow tint to them, where the hands, they've got that purple coloration to them as well. So good job color matching there. Yeah. The tights, they do lose the sort of, I guess, dry brushing that the original release had, but considering that this is sort of kind of blacked out, that's going to be fine, and the shoes look great as well. Overall, this Nosferatu does look very good, but it is so aggravating seeing that forearm coloration against the hands. It doesn't match, and it aggravates me. Second verse, same as the first with Nosferatu here, there aren't really going to be any articulation changes. We can see clearly that the head plugs in on a ball joint, double access or barbell style. So there's going to be a ball joint in the head and a ball joint in the neck, and that's going to allow some nice range of movement. So we can look that far to the left and to the right, up about that far, yep, down about that far. Do keep in mind he's going to have a long chin, so yeah, you can't really look down too much unassisted. Now for the original Nosferatu, his soft goods were they were rather forgiving. They were a little stretchy. So when it comes to the shoulder swivel that allows you to spin the arms forward and all the way around, you did have a little bit better range of movement, I feel. So you want to keep in mind you don't want to pop any stitches. But as you can see here, I'm kind of pushing it and it already is starting to get a little tense there, which is not something you really want. So it's just something to keep in mind. You can probably get a full 360 spin, but with rather expensive figures, you do have the possibility of popping stuff. You don't really want to do that. Now, hinges. We can raise and lower Nosferatu's arms. Very easy, just like that. He can sort of T-pose, which is cool. No dedicated bicep swivel, but we do have a single hinge elbow, that much range of movement, and that elbow plugs into the bicep on a peg, so we do get a bicep swivel, which is nice. For the wrists, we are going to have a swivel where it plugs into the forearm, so you can see you can spin that around. We do have a hinge, which allows forward and back movement, and then the hands plug in on pegs, giving you swivel movement. Come on, pop back in there. Nice and easy. There we go. We do have a ball joint for an ab crunch, which allows tilting from side to side, rocking forward and back, spinning, all that good stuff. And then it does feel like there is going to be an accompanying waist joint to allow for further range of movement. So he can lean back, whoa, that far, lean forward, whoa, about that far. Very nice. For the hips, they're going to be ball joint, I assume, or swivel hinge combos. Not quite sure, but once again, we do have some stitching there at the crotch. Don't want to pop that, so that far forward and back, and that far out to the side. That's about as far as I feel to be safe with this figure. Twisting and turning at the thigh swivel is good, so we have nice range of movement there. And we do have double knee hinges. Once again, from the original Nosferatu, you can kind of see that there's a sculpt going on there. It almost looks like you could get the tights caught in there, so you just want to be careful when you're closing up that hinge. Now for the ankles. For the original release, we had what is affectionately referred to as some folks as stanky foot, right? Here, this ankle was sort of stuck on mine, but I just applied a little bit of pressure, heard a nice crack, and it's been good since. However, both of them are relatively loose. I had to exercise a lot of patience with Nosferatu to make sure that he didn't tip over in some of the pictures that you've seen in this review. But of course, when I need to spot check him for it, there are no issues. So overall, if you really know how to pose your figures, you have all the joints that you're going to need here. Otherwise, I think maybe some better ankle joints and utilizing effective double hinges for the elbows, especially when they're covered up by those nice long sleeves, that would be great to see. But otherwise, Nosferatu has all of the joints that you're going to need to get you that extra mile. Now, if yours should be affected by the stanky foot, I did go over a method with the original Nosferatu, where basically if you have any stuck joints on cloth figures, what you do is you put them in a Ziploc bag, make sure that it's nice and watertight. You put them in hot water. I usually go about 3 minutes on mine, and then that heats the figure up just like you would any other figure that doesn't use soft goods. Accessories. And before we get there, Mezco highlighted on their product description, due to limited quantities, boxes that see light wear and tear, minor creases, scuffs, dented corners during transit are not eligible for a replacement graphics box. I wonder why. Because it comes in a shoebox. Yep. What's really cool though is the graphic that they have for this guy. It's really nice artwork. That quote-unquote cover is really, really cool. Just look at that action. You really get the... I mean, it's kind of like stained glass, right? And what's even cooler than this is not only do you get an extra sticker that has this on it, so you can just... I don't know, you can just graffiti tag this, right? If you wanted to. It glows in the dark. It's pretty friggin' sweet. If you want a 600 DPI scan of this, I got it up on my Patreon. All right, let's go back to the accessories here real quick. What do we have? We got a lot. So we are going to get an alternate set of hands, the same ones that came with Nosferatu, the original release, and another hand that goes with one of the alternate head sculpts, which we get 2 alternate ones in total. Okay, we get the coachman's hat, which is removable, cloak cape with detachable coachman's collar, which is removable. We get the lantern. We get the eerie mist effects, which is a joke. 2 wolves, 3 bats, 6 ratties, and we get the support stand with a support arm. Okay, That's a lot, so we really got to talk about this, and let's go ahead and just look at everything that we can up close and personal first. So let's go ahead and take a look at the lantern, because that'll be really easy to go over. It looks pretty much one-to-one like the original lantern, just more so blue and purple and white in some areas. Yeah, it looks cool. The same issues are found here, with the handle for the lantern liking to just fall over and likewise liking to come detached. Now for the head sculpt. This is kind of neat. We get one head sculpt that absolutely should have been included in the original release. The original release, we kind of get a hissing head sculpt. Here, we just get flat out roaring, like Nosferatu is coming after your neck. You're done. This is really cool. You can see all of the details up close and personal. And like I talked about before, that purple paint really helps to bring out some of the finer details. And then we get the sun damaged head and hand. It's a right hand part. I think the orange is a bit too heavy-handed, but otherwise it's a cool concept, and I will give them points for that. These sorts of things I think we need more of, and I will commend them for this. Now we're going to go ahead and get those 6 little ratties that we got from the original release, and those are going to be repainted here. We're going to get 4 of them in gray, once again in the same poses. We're going to get them where they're sort of smooshed like a little pancake, and then we're going to get 2 more where they have their backs arched, like they're ready in attack position. We're going to get one that's a little curly Q, and we're going to get one that's sort of up on its 2 hind paws, and he's looking for some attention. Cute little guy. Again, they make amazing pets. Please consider rats. They're amazing. Shout outs to Tiny Toes Rat Rescue in Mexico. Now, he is going to get that hat as well. It's got a feather sticking out of it. It's fine. Not really all that big of a deal. Nothing really of note. If you want your Nosferatu to look pretty pimpin', which we'll see a picture of that. Yeah, this is going to be it. We're going to get his wolves. Really cool. I'm going to show you the glow-in-the-dark eye effect, which I really didn't bother to clean up the picture for the dead pixels in this review at all. Yeah, my camera unfortunately has some dead pixels whenever I do nighttime shots, so it is what it is. They are bloody, they are wounded, which, hey, you know, battle-scarred and battle-damaged wolves. That's exactly what Nosferatu would have. We are going to have 3 bats as well, and the bats are going to come with a support system that honestly is really baffling. So the bats, I think if my eyes aren't deceiving me, we're going to have 2 in one pose, and then we're going to have 1 in its own pose. So 2 are kind of flat and 1's curved. Hope that makes sense. Now, for their support system, they are going to come with a clip that plugs into what is essentially right below the hinge for the support clip for your Nosferatu. Then you're going to get 3 bendy wires, 2 long, 1 short, and the bendy wires at their tip, which you can deglove, that's where you sleeve off the plastic surrounding it. You plug that into not the bottom of the bat, but the back of the bat. Why? Doesn't make much sense. Makes for some awkward displays. But I suppose if you really got fancy with it, you could clip this on somewhere else. I don't know. Just what they did. Which, since we're here at the stand, let's go ahead and take a look at that 112 Collective stand. All right, red Nosferatu. Let's go ahead and move on to the cloak, which does have a detachable collar. And this honestly is pretty cool. I think the collar is a bit too much and honestly isn't really needed. But if you really want to hide Nosferatu's face, I don't know why you would want to do that, but you could. This is going to be an option for you. Using this is pretty simple. What I would advise you to do is first and foremost, go ahead and remove the collar. It is going to have Velcro attaching to the collar of the actual cloak, so that's fun. And then there's going to be Velcro at the front where it would go around his face. Now, for the cloak in and of itself, there are going to be 2 metal clasps that are held on very thinly by thread. So be careful when you undo those clasps, so this way you're not pulling that thread apart and breaking it, okay? Now, I would recommend popping the head of Nosferatu off. There are 2 slits in the cloak where you can feed his arms through, no issues, and then pop the head back on. You are good to go. Throw the hat on there too. Have yourself a good time. Then if you do want to reattach that collar to go around his face, you can do that at this time as well. That's where I really recommend doing that. Now, I haven't talked about the eerie mist FX, and honestly, they could have just not included this and I would have been fine. Why? It's just a plastic shell. That's it. Not really impressive at all. The only good thing that this is for, the bats. there are 3 stealthily hidden slots on there where you can put the bats in. Neat. So that's really the only use that I would have for this, for a rather clean display for the bats, if I do have them on display. So something to keep in mind as well. Yeah, it's pretty fun. All right, let's get some action shots going on, so this way you can see how all of these accessories can be used. Pretty neat. I will say as well that all of these accessories you can use with the original Nosferatu, most specifically that cloak, but just keep in mind these are sort of color-coded to go with this Nosferatu. So if you do mix and match, you are unfortunately going to have some shading inconsistencies, especially with things like the cloak or the hat that were not meant to go with that original release. All right. So with that being said, the action shots, hopefully that sold you. The accessories, how good is this figure in just that department? I would say this is a nice rounded release. But what I will say, the argument is that this was 95, the original was 112. They couldn't have snuck the coffin in. It's the only thing missing. The eerie mist effects too. I mean, I really don't count that, but yeah. The coffin would have been the chef's kiss. But as it stands right now, I do think that this is a rather rock solid release in terms of accessories. The bats could have been done a little bit better, but if you are looking for some other things like support stands or better effects, you know, I got videos to help you out. Now, a size comparison with the original 112 collective Nosferatu. So this way you can see how big the two of them will be together, as well as when they blend in with your collection. I did make mention of this in the original Nosferatu review, but for this one as well, if you are more so the NECA Ultimate Horror kind of collector, this is actually something to keep your eye on because he blends in really well and actually towers over other 112 collective figures. So, hey, he kind of appeals to everyone when it comes to size. Now let's go ahead and do a side-by-side comparison with the original release. So this way you can really see where those differences are and you can see where this figure really does shine. So like I kind of said earlier, this figure really does things exceptionally well where the original figure maybe not necessarily so much. However, the original release does have several pros against this figure where honestly, it's Coke versus Pepsi. Or maybe Mountain Dew versus Mellow Yellow. I don't know. Let's go ahead and round this review out. Buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. The original release of this figure, well, the only release of this figure, was completely botched and did not actually happen at midnight. Yeah, okay, servers get slammed, but this is something that happens all the time for Mezco. They kind of need to learn to fix this whenever they have a hot new release, especially for their Rumble Society stuff. I mean, pretty much every time something like that happens, the site crashes, especially for Gomez. Oh my goodness. But anyway, Nosferatu here. Looks-wise, he is great except for that issue with the forearms. For articulation, really solid release. For accessories, it's a shame that the coffin isn't here. The way that they decided to do the bats for their support stands, it's a little confusing, and I don't know why they did that. But when you look at the whole package, this is a pretty fun release, and honestly, I'm glad that I picked this up. So, if you don't have a Nosferatu yet, this one on the aftermarket is going to be more affordable than the original release. If you just want a Nosferatu, this is going to be the one to pick up. If you have the original, do you need to get this? Honestly, if you just want another one, you want more display options, then yeah, sure, go ahead and get it. But this one isn't essential if you have the first. So, yeah, hope that makes sense. This is a fun release. It's a fun repaint. I'm glad I have it. It's cool.
Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.